of Valentine's Day movies that are romantic comedies, and I'll be damned if I'm going to talk about them. But what about something a little more interesting, and how about a Valentine's Day horror movie? Only one comes to mind, and that's My Bloody Valentine, which was released in theaters February 11th, 1981. And this was released amongst the great insurgence of slasher films throughout the 80s. And this one is a tad bit unique because the boogeyman in this one is a miner. And no, not a miner as in you can't serve him at bars, but a miner. That's right, he works in a mine shaft. He wears a gas mask, a hard hat, a little lantern, and kills people with a pickaxe. So what in the world is the backstory here? Well, basically, there's this little mining town where there was a Valentine's Day dance, and some of the supervisors from the mine went to the dance, leaving the mines unattended, and therefore leaving the miners on their own. And part of the supervisor's job is to monitor the methane levels within the mines. And since they weren't there to make sure the methane levels were within limits, the methane levels reach critical and there's an explosion, leaving pretty much all the miners dead except one, who becomes a vengeful pickaxe-wielding maniac who hates Valentine's Day and seeks to horribly murder anyone who dares celebrate. This being the case, the town henceforth bans any kind of Valentine's Day celebrations. So yeah, it's kind of like a more severe Footloose. And like always, there's a group of obnoxious teenagers who decide to break the town law and celebrate Valentine's Day as only obnoxious teenagers can. Oh boy, that means a lot of people are going to get a pickaxe to the head, and that does indeed happen. Now, this was a pretty moderate success at the box office because at the time, people were hungry for slasher films. It was made on a rather modest budget of $2.3 million and took in $5.7 million at the box office. Now, you might think that this is just another slasher film, but it's pretty unique, as it's really the only horror movie that takes place on Valentine's Day and involves a killer miner. So there's that. Now, of course, since then, there have been a few horror movies about Valentine's Day, but if you're like me, then you might consider any horror movie made after 95 null and void, because they suck. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but the so-called postmodern horror movies are just terrible. I don't know, I guess I'm just nostalgic and sentimental about the good old days, so anything modern just isn't going to cut it. And there was even a remake of My Bloody Valentine in 2009 that sucks, to the surprise of no one, especially me. Well, anyways, the original, otherwise known as the real My Bloody Valentine, was released on VHS by Paramount Home Video in 1988. So it took a while, but it did eventually get released on VHS, and you can find these today rather easily, but the price, pretty damn steep. Yeah, the average seems to be around $60. Now, I did find one for $40, but man, that's still pretty high. Yeah, I don't know what it is, but horror movie VHS fetch a steep price.